Queen Justice, where are you? Did they beat you up or no? Lock you underground, take the crown away from you?
Oh, Lady Liberty, red, white, and blue. Did they take your dignity with their bigotry? Teach you that you're born to lose.
Free or guilty, it's gonna get filthy. Better believe, roll up your sleeves. It's gonna get rough, it's gonna be tough. We all agree, we've had enough.
We've had enough
Of all the rules you break,
We've had enough
of all the money you make.
We've had enough
No more life gets taken.
We've had enough.
This is a proclamation.
It's been 400 years and we're 400 late. Together we stand from state to state. Going back in time won't make America great. We need justice now, people won't wait.
Action, no more distraction. Every step we take, we gain traction. If it can happen to one, it can happen to all. United we stand, divided we fall. Free or guilty, it's gonna get filthy. Better believe, roll up your sleeves. It's gonna get rough, it's gonna be tough. We all agree, we've had enough.
We've had enough
Of all the rules you were breaking.
We've had enough
Of all the money you were making.
We had enough
No more life gets taken.
We had enough
This is a proclamation. Free or guilty, it's gonna get filthy. Better believe, just roll up your sleeves. It's gonna get rough, it's gonna be tough. We all agree, we've had enough.
We've had enough
Of all the rules you're breaking.
We've had enough
All the money you're making.
We've had enough
No more life gets taken.
We've had enough
This is the proclamation. We've had enough. Trayvon Martin and Tommy Rice. We've had enough. Michael Brown and Eric gonna pay the price.
We've had enough
Philando, Breonna, George Floyd.
What?
We've had enough. So many gone. How can we fill the void?
How can we feel
We've had enough.
void?
John Crawford, I know you've heard. We've had enough. Sandra Bland, come on and take a stand. We've had enough. Sean Bell,
Sean Bell.
what the hell? We've had enough. Freddie Gray, did you hear what I said? We've had enough. This is a proclamation.
I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to Conversations with Al McFarlane. Our Wednesday edition focuses on generally business in the community, but the business of community, equally important. And I'm pleased to have standing by a guest, Al Flowers. Al Flowers, are you there? I see your name, but not your picture. Welcome and thank you. We're expecting members of a group that you're associated with, and that is the Young People's Task Force of the Unity Community Mediation Team. And while we're waiting on them to join, maybe you could jump on the line, Al Flowers, and talk about the work that you're doing, the work of the Unity Community Mediation Team and others. Al, are you there and do you hear me?
Yes, I do, Al. Can you hear me?
I hear you perfectly. Now I see you. Good to see you, man. How you doing?
All right. I'm just sitting back, keep trying to move the agenda with the mediation team.
Mm-hmm.
And I look like I'm in two places.
Well, you coming across here, it will be great. You've got the light behind you. I don't know if you can turn around and have the light on your face. That would be better to get your face lit up the right way, as opposed to it being a back shadow. Yeah, even that's better, much better. Great.
Okay.
Perfect, man. Yeah. So good to see you. Good to see you again. And so while we're waiting on the other team to join us, give us some background. It's always good to put things in context, and the context for today is the important work, we've discussed this before, of the Unity Community Mediation Team. It's an important organization, and remind our viewers and listeners what the team is about and how it came into being.
With the mediation team is a team that came back together after George Floyd, but it's originally it was an agreement that was came to by the Minneapolis Police Department and the community back in 2008, 2009, where we had did 5 years of mediation with the federal government about police brutality. And what happened back then is the then mayor was R.T. Ryback, and the chief was Tim Dolan, and we did the mediation out, and we came up with over 100 and some action items with the team, the mediation team, which consists of the Latino community, the American Indian movement and MUD, and the East African community, the GLBTQ community, and of course our community and the ADOS community and the mental health community. We all were at that table, and we all had some stake in it, and mostly African Americans it was about brutality against African Americans. So when the incident happened with George Floyd last year, almost a year today, we're coming up on the anniversary. As soon as it happened, then one of our chairs, our co-chairs, Zach Montoya and Pastor Bethel, they got together. Zach sent sent to the federal government to start mediation, because there was a clause in there that said if something like that happened, we might get it restarted. But and so that's where we back at the table. But if those action items, what was came up with by many people when they signed that agreement, if they would have did some of those things in the action item that they are doing now, it would have changed. It could have changed the course of history if they would have listened to our community back then, Al.
What were some of the things that the community was saying to them back at that time that you feel, Al Flowers, would have made a difference in the relationship between the community and the police department today? Particularly, what kinds of recommendations could have led to preventing the horrific experience that we all witnessed, not only locally, but globally, in the murder of George Floyd? So what was recommended and what did they not listen to?
They a variety of things, and mainly things like the chokehold, Al, things like when the police, things that Chief Arredondo now has implemented. If a police see somebody doing some wrong, if they seen them doing something that they shouldn't be doing, that they had to report it. It was mandatory that they report it. That was one of them, and that's what cost all the officers their job when Derek Chauvin murdered George Floyd down on 38th Street. So that it was things like that in treating our community with some dignity, and those things within those actual words were in there. How they treat us in particular in the African American community. So all those things that were there to try to stop it. Some of the things we got implemented, whether it's through state legislative policy, like the body cams out that they got now, they didn't have them back then. That it was mandatory that they had the body cams, and so we can see things besides on watching it on our phones. What was going on? They got body cams on them that can would help some of that when they're doing things to us. So it is so many different things, the psych evaluation of police officers. We tried to get it implemented that they get checked every 2 or 3 years, and all these things was in the agreement before, and now they're acting on them. But it's 10 years later. George Floyd murder, Dante Rice murder, things like that. That's happening all over the country, and we still, and if we look out, it's still happening. As we speak, we're still getting shot, whether whatever reason. Not saying, just talk about the allegation of look what happened in North Carolina. Look what happened to the young girl in Columbus, Ohio. Even though on that incident, that's the one where it was a weapon involved, but did the 16-year-old have to lose her life? But at the same time, some accountability from our side. There was grown-ups out there. That's what I like to say on that case. It was grown-ups out there that probably could have saved that young baby's life. So those kind of things there that we've been working, that we were working on then, and then what that's where we at now. And I see some of the your young people task force. So I just briefing from where we at to where we at right now. Al, that's where we at. That's a lot of over 100 and some items, but that if they would have implemented it back then, we would have did it. But the city stopped even trying to act on it. They just took those 100 and some items, put them in a drawer, and then here 10 years, 12 years later. We are fighting the same thing, and got to fight even harder. But the difference this time, Al, is that we created last time when we did it, we had Booker Hodges as our young person. He was the youth person on the team. This time we have built a collaboration, and now we want the young people to be the lead, and we can be that historical background that can not let them slip up. And the one thing, we did it 5 years, Al, with no money, the late Ron Edwards, Spike Moss, all of us did it. Bill Means, Clyde Belcourt, these are some of the elders in it that were there. We did it for 5 years, didn't have a dime, and we just did it out of passion. And we still got that passion, no matter as we done got 10, 15, 20 years older, we still have the same passion about what was happening then. But now we in a new time, and that's why we brought that. We got that young people task force, and it's going to be their world in a minute. So whatever we can do, and you know that, Al, you're working on stuff with them. That's where we at now, Al.
Well, let me introduce a couple of the members of the Young People's Task Force who are here. Others may join us as well, but I'm certainly pleased to connect with Al A.J. Flowers Jr. Brother A.J., how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Can you hear me all well?
I hear you well. Good to see you again.
Great, man. Nice to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing good. You're kind of in the shade. It would be cool if that light that's to your right could be on your face, or if you got a light that you could put there. But if not, you're okay. It's not the very best lighting, but it's okay. But your voice is really good, and that's very important too. And Miles Wilson, right, Miles?
That's right.
Miles Wilson is also here. Brother, thank you for your vision, your leadership, the courage that you young brothers show in bringing our voices forward in the interest of our community, but I say also in the interest of humanity, because what you're doing and saying is principled, it's clear, and you are demanding and asserting a right to be at the table of decision as it should be. So thank you for having the energy and the internal joy, I think, and commitment to the fight, commitment to freedom. I always want to refer back to Al Flowers as I call him the field marshal of the movement. And I say that in the spirit of always praising Al Flowers for his work and his tenacity and his stick-to-itiveness. That's the word. And Al, I was going to ask you, maybe not today, later on, just remind people that you are speaking from experience. You have been the target and the object of police brutality on more than one occasion. And so this is not theory for you. It's a question of you remembering and speaking from and about the pain and the pressure inflicted on you personally that you and I believe was illegal and consistent and reflection of the same attitude of being above the law that motivated Derek Chauvin and that team to kill George Floyd. It could have been you. Your story is a testament. So, Al, I just want to say that it's always a pleasure and an honor to talk about you and to talk about your story and to say that despite that aggressiveness against you personally, you have maintained a commitment to the community and a commitment to our people and a commitment to justice. And that, I say, is admirable. Thank you, Al Flowers. Well, let me go to Nick. Is it Nick McMore, right?
Martins. Yeah.
Is that to me, Al?
Martins, right. You know, the writing is so small on my screen, I can't read it. Nick Martins, and I know that, but I was trying to read it. I see Nick is with us as well. I just made my screen bigger. So Nick is here, Miles is here, and AJ is here. He's not on screen right now, along with me and you, Al Flowers. Let me just go to Nick first, one of the representatives of the Young People's Task Force. Nick, talk about your work and the mission of the Young People's Task Force. I'm going to ask Miles and AJ to weigh in as well as talk about the work of the task force. I want you brothers to talk about your personal stories, why you're committed to doing what you do in pursuit of equity, fairness, and justice for our people. So Nick, start with you. Nick Martins, thank you for being here, brother.
Yeah, of course.
And so your technology,
so
you're go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I hear you, but your video is moving slowly.
We started off.
So you know what, Nicholas, video, your voice is not good. It's breaking up. Let me have you come back. Maybe you be in a different situation where there's a better signal. But Miles is here. Miles, let me start with you. And the question is, what is the work of the Young People's Task Force? Why have you come to it? I want you to tell your personal story as well. So, Brother Miles, go ahead.
Yeah, excuse me. So, the work of the Young People's Task Force is surrounding, voicing the young people in the Minneapolis area's voice. We gather on Saturdays from noon to 2, and we host seminars with young people who come from similar backgrounds, different backgrounds. We welcome all different perspectives. And then from there, we kind of gather the ideas and we collaborate on ideas for things that we want to see changed, safety, housing, things like that. And then we have guest speakers come on, people of power in the city. We have our elders from our unit community mediation team come on and kind of coach us a little bit so that we can figure out what we want, for our future. And so that's a little bit about the Young People's Task Force. And I'm sure AJ and Nick will chime in with their perspectives as well. Why I came on is because the situation happened last year, the murder of George Floyd. I mean, being a young Black man in Minneapolis and dealing with brutality in my own sense in my own for my own situations. I felt that was important to come together and figure out how we can potentially stop brutality.
Hold
Police
on,
brutality.
Al Flowers. Can you mute your microphone because we're getting your background noise? So tell you, yeah, thank you, Al. Go ahead, Miles.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. So no, again, so coming from my own situations, I mean, I've been, had experienced police brutality in the past, and now at this age, I'm 26 now. I feel it's important to, coach and mentor people that come up similar to what I've gone through, So, and seeing this situation that happened last year with George Floyd's, murder being, so clear on camera, I felt it was important to come together as a community, especially with the young people, to figure out, how we can be progressive and make changes in our own right, so that we don't experience this anymore, or, get the changes that we want to see, in our city. So.
Tell me about your experience with police brutality. What is there a particular incident that you were a victim in, or at least threatened in?
Definitely. I'll start with the one that resonates most with me, and that's kind of pretty clear. I was 16, so this was about 10 years ago. I had just gotten my license, and being freshly licensed, my mom bought me my first vehicle, so I was just hanging out. I was driving with my girlfriend at the time, and I was pulled over by 5 squad cars. Now, I'm a young, African-American man. I had no experience with like police outside of driving. So this was a new experience for me. I wasn't coached in terms of what to do during a traffic stop, but I had this was my very first encounter with a pullover, your normal traffic stop. So 5 squad cars pulled me over. They said that I was a suspected drug dealer. They pulled myself and my girlfriend out of the car and sat us on the side of the road. Now, they asked permission to search my car. I gave them all the permission, and not even realizing the things that could have gone wrong there, where they could have maybe planted something, or, just anything to use against me without me actually knowing, and so it made me that, that portrayed me to be what they wanted me to be. So they searched the car. Long story short, they ended up letting us go. But that situation in itself was the spark of a lot of different. I've been pulled over in 10 years of driving, probably close to 50 or 60 times, for things like that, suspected drug dealer, anything that can really get you on. And so, that is what sparked, my wanting to change the policing in our communities, because it was, I've been pulled over for not using a turn signal to get into my driveway, things like that, so it's been hard, where I have my other counterparts, my other friends who don't go through that kind of thing, and I'm here being harassed for all different types of reasons, followed home, and so that's kind of where I'm at with it. And that's kind of one of my situations that got me into wanting to fight this fight.
Are you a native of Minneapolis and St. Paul, or are you from somewhere else?
From Minneapolis, yeah, born and raised.
Who's your family? What's your family background?
So my family background,
your peoples.
Yeah, my father's side is we're Wilson, so South Minneapolis Wilsons. Then my mother's side, they're Island, so the North Minneapolis, Ray Island, Doris Island, and then my mom and my dad. My mom's Lori Wilson. Last name was Island, and my dad's name is Patrick Wilson. So.
Okay, I have to tell people that your grandpa was one of my best friends.
Okay, yeah.
And a guy that was a major positive influence in my life early as a corporate executive, and also early as an entrepreneur and a business, and actually a neighbor, because he lived across the alley, 1 block from where I live right now.
Okay.
I can look out the back window and see his house from where I'm sitting right now, but he was a trusted and dear family, your grandpa and your grandma, wonderful people. I know your mom and your uncles, a great family. So I'm so glad to hear your story, and I'm glad that you're doing this. And I'm glad to acknowledge that there is a certain power and a certain responsibility that you bring to this, because you're bringing the legacy of freedom fighters. In your mother and father's name, and in your grandparents' name. And so I think that's really, really important. Somebody, Michelle Madison is saying, I want you to ask what she should tell her 31-year-old son to do when he gets pulled over? Michelle, she's at Virginia Beach, I think. Michelle, thank you for that question. So what would you say her 31-year-old son should do when he gets pulled over by the police?
That's a tough. I mean, I comply. Then that's what they say to do. That's what they tell us to do. We've seen so many situations where we've complied and that's gone the wrong way. So it's really hard to say just simply comply. Out of my experiences with being pulled over, I'm always making sure that I'm being clear with the officer for directions. I'm always making sure that I'm, moving slowly, not fast gestures. I don't want them to be, I know that they're already, on the defense or unsettled. So I'm trying to move as slowly as possible. Again, being clear, being direct, letting them know exactly what I'm reaching for. And also I make sure, like, if I get pulled over at night, that if the lights are working, well, mine have been working, but the lights above the driver's seat are on, because I want them to see exactly what I have going on, just so there's no confusion of, hey, I thought he was reaching for a gun, it was my phone, or I thought he was reaching for a gun, it was my wallet, so things like that. I'm making sure that, and also I keep things within arm's reach. So like my insurance card is above my visor, just so it's a little bit easier to get to instead of going into the glove compartment. So there's a few things that I keep in mind, but I would say, just be clear about what you're doing, and be visual. So just so that they can see exactly what's going on. So like I said, like my biggest tip would be the headlights, or the lights above the driver's seat. So
Right, light inside the compartment. Thank you for that.
Exactly.
And thank you for the question, Miss Viewer. So AJ Flowers is back. Al, perfect lighting now. You must have gone to the wardrobe room and the makeup room, because now you're the picture of perfection. Good to see you again, man. So talk about, and Miles did earlier, but the work of the Youth Task Force. You guys have had some exciting presentations and seminars and discussions. Talk about that, and talk about the why it's important. And of course, whenever you're on with me, I want you to make it perfectly clear that you have a political agenda and that you're running for office for city council in South Minneapolis. So take the time to talk about your candidacy as well.
Okay, well, first I'll take the time to talk about our Young People Task Force, because that was the first original reason I got on here. So one of the reasons that I joined this Young People Task Force is because being around this fight for as long as I have, I would notice that I was always one of the youngest people in the room, and yet we'll be fighting about issues that were concerning to people of my age or even people younger than me. And I just felt like there was no way we can actually get to real solutions of the things that we need done unless we actually bring the young people to the table. So when the mediation team came up with the group, and I came in a little later than when the group was actually formed, I was ecstatic about it, just the name of it and just what I thought the power of it can be. Now, this is a group that's 30 and under. I'm 28 years old, so I only have 2 years. I'm like the old person in our room, you know what I mean? So, but my goal is to try to build this up in a way so that it can be strong and powerful and heard of in a way where when they come in the room, when the Young People Task Force come in the room, they mean business, and you have to take what they say into consideration for the moves that you make, and the moves that you do. Some of the things that we've done, we met with everybody around the table because we have ideals that we want to get done. But first, we wanted to try to go around and see all the little barriers that's going to be in place before we go into there and try to knock some of these barriers we got down when it surrounds around policing and accountability and consequences. Because them are some of the main things that we're looking for. I think one of the biggest problems that we were having after George Floyd and what everybody, the frustration that we seen was not only the fact that that our brother was murdered right in front of our very eyes, but the fact that a lot of people felt like that officer was not going to be held accountable for that situation. At least I know that's why I was standing outside, because we've seen it over and over again through history, through time, that they will get away with these type of infractions, especially when it's done against us, Black men, Black women, people of color within this country, within this city, and especially within this state. So for us to come together the way that we did, and to see the young people all come around and come in there with a voice to tell the police officers what kind of future we want to have moving forward, because I say this, I'm 28 years old. Miles is 26, I believe. So we're in that position now where we're going to become that backbone of the city, of the country, right? But we have to make sure that we put a nice foundation out for the people that's coming behind us, the 13, the 9-year-olds, my daughter's 8, so that when they get up to 18, 19, 20, that Black success is normalized, and Black trauma is not none that's normal within our community. We make sure that we normalize them different things. Now to the city council race. Yeah, I'm AJ Flowers. I'm running for city council in Ward 9. And that is, the Young People Task Force, and kind of some of the main reasons I joined the city, I put my name in the race, is kind of the same, because I felt as though we need representation in powerful places. That's the problem. It doesn't matter what we do, how many people we get out there to fight, how many people we get out there to speak, how many tables and meetings we have. If we don't have the right people in the positions of power to actually affect the change that we want to see get done, then we're going to be in the same situation over and over again. I've seen it over and over and over again. We get the same people that comes into our city, and they play like they're this activist role when they're really politicians that have their own type of agenda and own type of thing that they have on their self that's not really emboldened of what affects Minneapolis. We always get in problems where Minneapolis is always trying to fight national issues when we can't even fix some of the things that's in our own city. We're such a polarizing city. So I had to come to a place where I said, you know what, if I want to see the change, I got to be the change. I got to get out there. I got to put my name in the hat. And one thing that I tell you, Mr. McFarlane, that I'm proud of is since I announced, I have spoken to so many young Black men and women, that really wants to put their name in a hat and really want to start to pursue this type of positions of power and really understand that way. In order for us to get it done, we need people everywhere. Don't get me wrong. We need our people out in the streets that's going to let it be known. And I was one of them people that was out in the streets, but we also need our people in the council position. We need people in the private sector position. We need people in our business world. We need people in our education world, in our mental health world, in our medical world, to all be able to be in positions of power. And when I say we, I'm talking about ADOS, African-American descendants of slaves and people of color, of course, but particularly with us, if we want to really see the change that we want to get done within our community. So for me, it was a no-brainer to go ahead and try and work as hard as I can to make sure that I give us not only a voice, but to give us a real seat at the table to affect the change that we need in our city.
What changes do you see that you can affect for 9th Ward as city council? What would you do differently from what's been done by the predecessor? She has chosen not to run again, and therefore you and other candidates have stepped forward. What particular things are on your platform that you're inviting people to rally around and support?
Well, first and foremost, the biggest problem that we face in Minneapolis, the biggest disparity is the economic disparity that we face. And in order for us to change that economic disparity, we had to start working towards livable wages and working towards livable wage and jobs. And when I say that, we fight for the minimum wage, but I'm talking about a livable wage. So I'm talking about within our trades, in our IT, within all them type of departments. So not only getting our people into construction and different things like that, but being innovative and kind of meeting our young people where they're at too, so that they can get livable paying jobs, which means e-gaming, IT work, different things that's going on, programming work that's gonna not go nowhere. Tech is not going anywhere, and we're falling sadly behind within our communities. We need to actually get better at it, because that's something that all our children are great at now. I see so many 4- or 5-year-olds teaching their grandmas how to, deal with like a tablet or something like that. And trust me, if we were able to own in on that skill and actually teach them this programming and different metrics that IT can teach you, we can make sure that we can cut down that big gap of access to wealth. So as I said, making sure that we have these different programs is in our trades and unions and different things like that, but also being innovative and thinking about the future and finding a way to meet some of the young people where they're at. What we have seen over time is that when they met people where they at, the money has came. People thought e-gaming, electronic gaming, where people will get paid to actually play video games, was a waste of time. And now it actually makes revenue. So it's finding a way to be innovative with our jobs too. Another thing we got to do is we have to make sure that we find a way to get our public safety back right. How do we do that? We got to work with community organizations and law enforcement to make sure that we can work with everybody around. That's our faith leaders. That's our community organizations, our legacy organizations, the people that's outside right there, and meet them where they at and find a way so that we can bring them out of the thing. Because we know we can't lock the problem away, right? We're not going to be able to lock crime away. It just will replace crime. So what we got to do is fight the conditions in which crime exists to actually change it.
That's powerful. Thank you so much. You guys did some exciting seminars. I'm switching hats now, back away from the campaign, but towards the Young People's Task Force. You all have done some phenomenal engagements, discussions, seminars, or town halls with key people, and one that both surprised me, but it shouldn't have, because it's consistent with what your forthrightness is. You recently talked to representatives of the Minneapolis Police Federation. Talk about that. How did that come about, and what were the aims going in, and what were the results? You and Miles can respond to that.
AJ, you want to go first?
Yeah, yep, I'll go first. So basically, through this time and work that we have done and over the years, one of the main things that we see that we come across with every single issue that you're facing when you're talking about police reform or police change or just police in general is that a lot of the backing and the power that keeps them where they at is the union. Let's just be quite frank and be honest. It's the federation that fights a lot of their cases. So we decided, we said, okay, if that's always the issue, if them are the people that nobody can seem to get to, nobody can seem to meet with, why don't we come out as the Young People Task Force and say we want to meet with y'all because we believe this is something that's going to be beneficial for all sides, because we obviously need y'all to do better, and y'all going to have to, because look, we're at a breaking point, right, Mr. McFarlane? We've never seen it. The world, the policing is not going to never be the same. So you can either get on the board of change or you can still be stubborn and stay back. But if you really want to get on the board of change, you got to get more progressive and you got to move forward. So we tried to meet with them and have a way. We only had 2 meetings with them. And after 2 meetings, being completely honest, it was more of a filling out stage. We're trying to work on our memorandum and everything. So we're hoping that our meetings moving forward can actually, we walking away with actual real results when we walk out of the meetings moving forward. But the first 2, I would say they were receptive, but at the same time, it wasn't all the way as receptive as we would have liked. We wish it would have went overnight, but I know being around for a little while that it don't go overnight. But we only had 2 meetings. So I thought, we have another meeting coming up, and then we're gonna see, and hey, look, we at the end of the day, we're all about trying anything. We're willing to listen to anybody. You can come sit down with us if you believe that you're ready to come abolish the police. We're fine with that. We don't care who it is, because we know that there's a group of people that feel that way. And I'm personally one of them people that don't hate people that feel that way, right? I don't think it's the right idea, but I can understand the anger. I can understand the frustration. I can understand the mind frame, especially when you're talking about as a Black man in this country where you felt like they have been always literally used to hold us back. And that is actually literally what they were first used for, to actually hold us back. So I can't never be out here and be angry at someone that feels that way. But at the same time, I feel like you have to come with solutions. And that was our mean for meeting with them.
Miles, go ahead, jump in there.
No, I would like to say, what AJ started off saying is that, again, with the Young People's Task Force, when we step into a room or we have a conversation, we're coming about business. So with the Minneapolis Federation, we came to them with the idea of pushing something as simple as changing the name. Well, from our perspective, as simple as changing the name from Minneapolis Police Department to Minneapolis Peace Department. Now, like AJ said, there was a lot of feeling out there, and from my perspective, there was a lot of, pushback to that. There was a lot of, well, there's reasons why they may not want to change the name. And it seems that, well, with the type of fire that you're under right now as a union, as a police department, you might want to consider changing the name. And so we've been pushing that, and we push that with everybody we talk to. But like AJ said, we're really the only group that's really come to that table with the Minneapolis Federation. And so for us to push something like that, I think that's really important, because we're trying to change that narrative. We don't want to abolish the police. We want to just reform, change their narrative, change their ways of working, removing those bad cops off the streets. A saying that I like to say is that airlines can't hire bad pilots. You can't have a pilot that's just going to take. So same thing works for the police department. So when they have bad cops, they have to go. Something else that we're working towards is police liability insurance. So we're going to have those conversations with the Minneapolis Federation. We feel like that's the place to go to have these conversations. That's who we feel that would make these changes if they make these changes. But if not, then we're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep fighting, and we're going to go to the next person. I mean, we've talked to the mayor of Minneapolis. We've had conversations with the chief of police. Now we're here with the Minneapolis Federation. So if they don't want to work, we're going to keep moving. We're going to keep working. We're going to keep doing what we're doing and voicing what we want. So
let me say, first of all, I'm going to ask Nicholas to weigh in on this too. What you all are doing as individuals, but also collectively as the Young People's Task Force is absolutely audacious, number one, and audacity is what it's called for in this day and age. So kudos, congratulations to you, and applause and support to you for having the audacity, the nerve, the chutzpah, as they call it, or the confidence to go and present a new narrative, a new challenge, and to also walk into the meeting with the intent of reflecting your authority to define the relationship. When you go in telling the police federation and the police department, we want to change your name, and then you say that you're going to define what they're going to be in the future and define the role and have the name that they're going to switch to be one that defines differently their role in society, that their role is not policing, but peacekeeping, peacemaking. That, my friend, is audacious. And it's a wonderful thing that you've moved in that direction. And I like what you said, Brother Miles. I see it as a headline in my mind's eye right now. An airline cannot hire a bad pilot, because that brings the picture in your mind into perfect clarity. Because our society wants to look at and excuse a bad cop every now and then. And they want you to say, oh, with this many people, you're bound to get a bad one, so don't worry about it. But you put the case right in front of us. Can you say that about hiring a bad pilot? Absolutely not, because the consequences are horrific. Stakes are too high, and the stakes are too high in the use of lethal force in managing our community. We cannot hire bad cops, cannot keep them, and that's a strong position. Nicholas, jump in, brother. How you doing? Good to see you, and thank you for your work in this. Unmute, I think.
Yeah, of course.
There we go. Go ahead.
Yeah, so to kind of add on to what Miles said, something that stuck with me from our last meeting, Dr. Hoax actually said, she said, we have bad apples, but bad apples don't kill people. So, I mean, we get in organizations, we get that there's, like you said, that there's people that aren't great officers. We get that, but we're trying to change the entire narrative with the peace department, and it's been a struggle sitting down with them, and we've been struggling back and forth. But great conversations, and like AJ said, it's a starting point. But it's a lot bigger than just having bad officers. We're seeing people die over this. So like I said, it's a lot bigger, and that's why. And you said we're audacious, and that's why we're coming the way we're coming, because we need actual change. So that's where I stand with that.
Take a minute to describe who else is on the Young People's Task Force with you guys. Name the ones that are not here and who they represent, what they bring to this collaborative. I see there's a note from Lynn Nordgren. She says, I love listening to and learning from these young men who are leaders. Their effort to collaborate to find real solutions gives me confidence in our future. Lynn, thank you for watching. Thank you for your work in the community, and thank you for acknowledging both the reality and the appropriateness of these young men, young leaders stepping forward to exercise their right and their responsibility. But Al or Nick or Miles, who else is on the committee? Describe the people who are there with you, because you're a group of people, men and women, I believe.
Right. So we have a 13-year-old that's one of our co-chairs that could have been here today. She's in school, but her name is Liziah. She's 13 years old. We also have Alexis Madison, who's 28 years old, who's an African-American. They're both African-Americans. We have Elena, who's a Native American woman. We have, I mean, it's extremely diverse. I mean, we have a group from North High School, a bunch of young boys from North High. Yeah, it's extremely diverse. We have Quincy, and like I said before, we're welcoming anybody under the age of 30 to join in and join in on these conversations. I haven't even mentioned half of the people that we had on our forums on Saturday to speak to the mayor, to speak to the chief, that got their chance to have their voice heard and express some of their concerns in the community, and not just concerns, but express ideals that can help and change and make this community a lot stronger and better. So our team is very diverse. From the Unity Community Mediation team, we have the Somali, the Natives, Asian. So yeah, it's a very diverse team. I don't know if I missed anybody and you two want to add on to that, but yeah, our team is very diverse.
Yeah. So we're basically a team formed in a coalition with a lot of other groups that also do their own type of work as well. Like, as he said, Quincy, who we work with, he's part of the Youth League Council, and we got Elijah, who's part of the North 4 and Will program, which is over there at Emerge. So we got a lot of people who linked into, like Elaine, she's linked in with the American Indian movement, and then we got Fatima, who's linked in with the East African Women Against. So we got a lot of women that's linked in with different movements. And what we do with our forums is we try to invite as many people as we can. The first people he named is like the committee board, I would say, so to speak, with Zion and Lex being our communications. I also want to touch on this other thing with the peace department while we got this as well, because one of the things that really gets me is every time we push for this name peace department, one of the main pushbacks we get that everybody says, well, what's going to happen when this officer does this, right? And they say, well, what happened when this officer does this? And then they're going to say, that's not peace department. That's not. And I always respond with this. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That is not what we're looking for out the peace department. So if an officer does do something like that, then you probably will not be able to serve on this force. Why instead of you thinking of a mentality of what happened if I go bust somebody's head, I think the honest solution will be not to go bust somebody's head. You get what I'm saying? Not to brutalize people. I think that will be the actual solution, instead of thinking about, well, what happened if I have a bad day? We can't afford for you to have a bad day that's going to end with somebody's life ending. And I don't, and I also want to say this last thing too, because we always get in this mentality and we fight over fear and different things. We have to realize that the reason why we're pushing for peace department, because most officers and the chief himself will tell you that majority of the calls, 90% of the time, that it's not like you're going into these hostile situations. Most of your job is built on de-escalation and communication. And when we say the name peace officer, that's literally what they're licensed as by the state. That's the same thing. And if they say that they don't care about that, they use that same licensing that they have by the state to excuse whenever they have a murder case or something in there. When they go to the statute of 609.066, it's licensed as a peace officer. So we're just saying that we're not saying that you gotta be, we hate you and you gotta, we're just saying that this probably isn't the job for you. And I'm glad you said that, Miles, is that we don't want bad pilots. We don't want bad peace officers. And this probably ain't the job for you if you have that much aggression that you serve into the community that you're supposed to be out here bringing peace to.
Good comments, Miles. You want to add something to that?
Yeah. Well, touching base back on our group. Yeah. No, they pretty much hit that on the head in terms of who we have involved in the group so far. They both mentioned that it is an open conversation, so we do invite everybody and anybody. We just look for young people because we're looking for progressive thoughts, progressive thinkers, different ways that we can change, different ideas that we can bring to these tables. Other than that, no. AJ, yeah. I mean, we back each other on what we say, and so that's what we do. We go to these tables. we hold each other accountable, and we hold those that we speak to accountable as well. So if they said that they're on board with something, then we're going to hold you to it, really. So
yeah. So two things then. One is I'm so pleased to have you guys on this program today, number one, but I'm even more pleased just knowing you to know what you're doing, because I think you really are the right people for the right time. And I believe that what you're going to do and deliver with both power and success. I think success is imminent and success is inevitable. What you have before you is what must happen and what will happen. And I know that you bring the sense of victory is already won. It's a question of walking through the door, and establishing a new order, a new understanding, a new awareness. And the word peace is a powerful descriptive of the solution that you're bringing to our community, to our families, and to our society. Number two, I want to say that our company, McFarlane Media, is pleased to be working with you to help develop and grow your social media presence and your website presence. And this program, Conversations with Al McFarlane, is going to be looking to you and inviting you to be present here all the time. So not only do we want to do meetings like this where it's 2 or 3 or several of the members of the task force, but we also want to create a relationship with you where we do programs 5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And it's not inconceivable that members of the task force, as members of the task force, could be in these programs every day, because I think your voices are important, and all the things we talk about are things that affect you. And as you said, Al, how can we talk about the future without having the future in the room? You are the future. And so your presence is absolutely essential in all we think, all we do, and all we say. And your success is vital to the success of our very life and our presence here in this country and our presence on the planet. I think what you're doing is global. You're thinking local, acting local, but it has a global impact, because the strategy for solving problems and the problems that you are solving are problems that our people experience all over the planet, right? And so, yes, you focus on what's happening right now, right here, right in front of us, but you also know that the generic, genuine, authentic solution is a solution that applies to this dynamic human interaction wherever it's unfolding anywhere on the planet. But it makes the work that you do all the more important. So we're looking forward to working with you guys and inviting you all and members of your team to be present. I extend an invitation if there are writers on the crew that want to develop and expand their writing skill and capacity. Our job is to serve as both conduits and mentors to support you and to support your work and your positioning in the marketplace to do and provide the leadership that you're called to provide. With that, I'm going to go around one more time for a final comment or thought. If there's some things coming up in the very near term that you want people to know about, you can tell them that. AJ Flowers, again, I want to have you close with an invitation to let people know again about your candidacy and to invite them to support you as a candidate for 9th Ward City Council. So I'm going to go to Miles first. Miles, parting thoughts, impressions, feelings, and take it wherever you want to go, because this is what this is about. This is a conversation between us.
Definitely. Thank you. Final words is I'm going to say that we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep doing our work, inviting more young people. If you know any young people, feel free to reach out to us. Nick usually drops his email. I don't know if he's on right now. I don't see him, but if he doesn't get back on, I'll drop his email so that you can reach out to him, so that you can join our calls on Saturdays. If you have some moment, feel free to chime in, sharing ideas, sharing thoughts with us, and we'd be happy to have you guys on. So thank you.
AJ, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I want to thank y'all. And I will be remiss, since I'm going to mention my campaign. I got to mention my boy, Miles Wilson, United Not Divided. mental health organization that's specifically geared around African American men. I believe that's huge. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad to call him one of my brothers. But yeah, once again, man.
Let me say something there. Let me say something. Thank you for doing that. And I want to tell Miles and other members of the group, whenever you're on a platform like this, bring your stuff. Whatever it is, never hesitate to let people know exactly who you are, what you do, and to bring your brand, because the brand is important. So thank you for lifting up Miles's organization. But Miles, to you, don't be shy.
Yeah.
You know, lay it out there every time, okay?
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Go ahead, AJ.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So yeah, like you said, man, I'm AJ Flowers, man. I'm running for City Council Ward 9. If you want to learn more about me, you can go to my website at AJ for Ward 9. That's AJ for Ward 9, AJFORWARD9.com. You know, and y'all can hear more about my platform. I'm running for the young people. I'm running on the guidance of my elders and for the young people that's behind me. So I want everybody to tune in. I want everybody to go to the website and really come look at our young people task force, because we're doing the work now. We're doing the work that needs to be done to make sure that our children and the people behind us will have a future that we can live in. And like I always say, and I want people to always remember, the main goal of this is to denormalize Black trauma and normalize Black success. Once we start to do that thing, then we'll be able to move forward in our life as a people together.
I've never heard that before, and that's a powerful statement. Thank you for putting it into a capsule that makes perfect sense. Denormalized trauma, normalize Black success. That's a powerful objective and mission, and it's doable. And to speak it into existence is the first step. Thank you, AJ Flowers. So in the future, I'm going to have you guys connect with the person that's in the back room on the call is my classmate from kindergarten. Her name is Brenda Lyle Gray. She and I were in kindergarten together in Kansas City. And Brenda, I know that and Brenda is writing the stories from these programs every day. Brenda, I'm just feeling that as you're listening to these young brothers talk about their vision and their work, you and I both are thinking about my first cousin and our friend, Bernard Powell, who was a youth leader in Kansas City. Now, I was going to say in the future, but I'm going to take a minute now and ask you, Brenda, to talk a bit about Bernard Powell. He organized the Social Action Committee of 20 in Kansas City when we were growing up, way back when. Take about 3 or 4 minutes, Brenda, and in the light of what these brothers are talking about today, reflect on that, and inspiring them to keep moving.
I'm going to start out. Am I muted? Can you hear me?
No, we hear you. Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. I'm going to start out with Al's story about my becoming a revolutionary at 5 years old. Blacks had to, our class had to sit on the floor because there were no desks and there were no books. And on this particular day, I said, nope, not sitting on the floor. So Al talks about Bernard, and it's so interesting is that I just reached out to his brother, who appears on Al's Conversations on Thursday. He is a distinguished gentleman, professor of law at the University of South Carolina. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I just reached out to him and I said, you know, Bernard could have gone all the way to the Senate. He would have been in the White House. He was so powerful, and he struck fear in people in a positive way, because he told the truth all the time. You're talking about this term that we use for Al McFarlane, is that he puts truth to power. And that's what Bernard did. And that's what we did growing up, because we were all in one neighborhood, because that was the only real estate where Blacks could have homes. So, but Bernard was unbelievable. If he saw something in the community, he was going to go after it, but it wasn't going to be blatant. It was going to like, I know what you're doing, and we're going to work at getting you out of here because you're hurting our community. And we had a strong community. We had parents who held picket signs while we were in there on the floor in the kindergarten room, and we had community leaders that just started building. And that's what you gentlemen are doing. And I am so proud of you, except I'm a fan of Al Flower Sr. Between the two Al's, with Al Babington with Stair Step and Al Flowers, I mean, you've got a power just in those two Al's. And so congratulations to what you're doing. If there is anything that I can do to help you, Al has my email and we can write up a storm. Except for right now, I'm a little bit behind on my articles, but after today, I can work.
Listen, brother, so thank you. I want to thank you, Brenda, for just bringing that. This whole conversation, why I'm smiling so deeply, Brother Miles and Brother AJ, is that we've been here before, and we know what the power is. We know what the potential is, and we also know what the play is. And you guys, you brothers, you men and women in your group are right on target.
Wonderful.
Go forth fearlessly.
Wonderful.
Fiercely. No fear. Take no prisoners. You're going to win. That's it for today. I'm Al McFarlane. We'll see you next time. Take care.